Hello everyone, welcome to All About Books Office. Today we are going to dive into the book Persuasion Mastery, How to Get Anything You Want from Anyone by Tyler Andrew Cole. Please don't forget to like, subscribe for more content.
Ever wondered how some people effortlessly get their way? Persuasion Mastery reveals the secrets to influencing anyone, anytime. You'll learn to navigate complex conversations, win arguments, and inspire action with ease. Master these skills and watch your personal and professional life transform. Miss out, and you'll continue struggling to achieve your goals while others around you effortlessly succeed. Ready to unlock your persuasive potential? Before we go on, I invite you to download the free bundle, which contains the ebook version of this book and an executive summary of all the chapters with the key takeaways. Studies show that engaging with content through multiple formats significantly enhances learning and retention. Click on the first link in the description to claim your free bundle now and maximize your learning potential. Now it's free, but it won't be for long, so make sure to grab it while you can. Chapter 1: Opening Moves. In the intricate dance of human interaction, the ability to persuade is the ultimate power move. It's the difference between merely existing in the world and actively shaping it to your will. Welcome to Persuasion Mastery, How to Get Anything You Want from Anyone. You've taken the first step on a journey that will transform the way you communicate, negotiate, and influence others. By the time you finish this book, you'll possess the tools to navigate any social situation with confidence and finesse. Persuasion is not a dark art reserved for manipulators and con artists. It's a fundamental human skill, as essential to our social fabric as language itself. Every day, we engage in countless acts of persuasion, often without realizing it. From convincing a friend to try a new restaurant, to pitching a groundbreaking idea to investors, the ability to influence others is at the core of our personal and professional lives. But here's the truth that most people don't realize. Persuasion is a skill that can be learned, honed, and mastered. It's not an innate talent bestowed upon a lucky few. It's a set of techniques and strategies that anyone can acquire with the right guidance and practice. This book is your roadmap to becoming a master persuader, capable of achieving your goals and realizing your ambitions. As we embark on this journey together, it's crucial to understand that persuasion is both an art and a science. It requires creativity and intuition, but it's also grounded in psychological principles and empirical research. Throughout this book, we'll explore the theory of social influence, which forms the backbone of effective persuasion. At its core, social influence theory recognizes 5 distinct types of influence: coercive, legitimate, expert, referent, and reward-based. Each of these types has its place in the persuader's toolkit, and knowing when and how to employ them is key to your success. Coercive influence relies on the threat of negative consequences. While it can be effective in the short term, it often breeds resentment and resistance. Legitimate influence stems from a recognized authority or position. Expert influence is based on specialized knowledge or skills. Referent influence draws on personal relationships and likability. Finally, reward-based influence offers positive outcomes in exchange for compliance. Understanding these different types of influence is just the beginning. As you progress through this book, you'll learn how to seamlessly integrate them into your persuasive efforts, adapting your approach to suit any situation or audience. But before we dive deeper into these techniques, let's talk about what you can expect to achieve as you work through this book. By the time you finish your first read-through, you'll have gained a solid foundational understanding of persuasion techniques. You'll be able to recognize the different types of influence at play in your daily interactions and begin to consciously apply them in your own communication. More importantly, you'll develop a mindset oriented towards strategic influence. This shift in perspective is perhaps the most valuable takeaway from your initial journey through these pages. You'll start to see every interaction as an opportunity to practice and refine your persuasive skills. Whether you're chatting with a colleague over coffee or negotiating a major business deal, you'll approach each situation with a newfound awareness of the persuasive dynamics at play. But this is just the beginning. If you continue to apply and practice the principles outlined in this book, the long-term benefits are truly transformative. Over time, you'll develop a mastery of persuasive communication that will set you apart in both your personal and professional life. You'll find yourself able to influence outcomes in a wide variety of situations, from resolving conflicts to inspiring teams to action. Imagine being able to walk into any room and immediately command attention and respect. Picture yourself effortlessly steering conversations in your desired direction, all while making others feel valued and heard. These are the kinds of abilities you'll develop as you continue to hone your persuasive skills. So, what's involved in this process, and what are the most important steps? First and foremost, it's crucial to develop a deep understanding of the different types of influence we discussed earlier. This knowledge forms the foundation upon which all your persuasive efforts will be built. You'll need to learn how to recognize which type of influence is most appropriate for each situation and how to seamlessly shift between them as needed. Equally important is developing the confidence and adaptability to apply these techniques in real-world situations. Persuasion isn't just about knowing the right words to say. It's about having the presence and flexibility to respond to the dynamic nature of human interaction. Throughout this book, we'll explore exercises and strategies to help you build these essential qualities. You might be wondering why we've chosen to structure the book in this particular way, starting with the fundamentals before moving on to more advanced techniques. The answer lies in the nature of persuasion itself. To become a truly effective persuader, you need to build a strong foundation of knowledge and skills. It's not enough to memorize a few clever tricks or catchy phrases. You need to understand the underlying principles that make persuasion work. By establishing this strong foundation early on, we ensure that you're well prepared to tackle the more complex strategies we'll explore in later chapters. Each concept builds upon the last, creating a comprehensive framework for mastering the art of persuasion. Moreover, starting with a focus on mindset and fundamental principles allows you to begin applying what you learn immediately. You don't have to wait until you finish the entire book to start seeing results. From the very beginning, you'll be equipped with insights and techniques that you can put into practice in your daily life. As we move forward, we'll delve into more specific strategies and techniques. In the next chapter, Setting the Stage, we'll explore how to create the optimal environment for persuasion. You'll learn about the power of priming and how subtle environmental cues can significantly influence people's receptivity to your message. But before we get there, take a moment to reflect on what you've learned so far. You've already taken the first step towards becoming a master persuader by recognizing that influence is a skill that can be developed and refined. You've gained insight into the different types of influence and begun to shift your mindset towards strategic communication. As you continue through this book, remember that each chapter builds upon the last, revealing new layers of the persuasion process. The journey ahead is filled with powerful insights and transformative techniques. Are you ready to unlock your full persuasive potential and start getting anything you want from anyone? The path to persuasion mastery lies before you, filled with secrets waiting to be uncovered. In the next chapter, we'll begin to explore the subtle art of creating the perfect persuasive environment. Get ready to discover how the world around you can become your most powerful ally in the art of influence. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, Setting the Stage. Have you ever wondered why some conversations flow effortlessly, while others feel like an uphill battle? Why certain environments seem to amplify your persuasive abilities, while others leave you struggling to make your point? The answer lies in a subtle yet powerful aspect of persuasion that most people overlook: the art of setting the stage. As we delve into this chapter, you'll discover that persuasion begins long before you utter your first word. It starts with the environment you create, the atmosphere you cultivate, and the subtle cues you provide. This is the hidden dimension of influence, the invisible force that can make or break your persuasive efforts. Think back to a time when you felt completely at ease and receptive in a conversation. What was it about that situation that made you feel that way? Was it the comfortable seating arrangement, the soothing background music, the pleasant lighting? These elements might seem insignificant at first glance, but they play a crucial role in shaping our mental state and our openness to new ideas. This is where the concept of environmental control comes into play. By consciously crafting the space, atmosphere, and context in which your influence will unfold, you can dramatically increase your chances of success. It's like setting up a chessboard before the game begins, each piece carefully positioned to maximize your strategic advantage. But why is this so important for persuading effectively? The answer lies in the way our brains process information and make decisions. You see, we're not always as rational as we'd like to believe. Our subconscious minds are constantly absorbing and interpreting cues from our environment, shaping our mood, our receptivity, and even our decision-making processes. By establishing a conducive atmosphere for influence, you're essentially priming your audience to be more open to your ideas. You're creating a space where they feel comfortable, relaxed, and receptive. This isn't about manipulation. It's about creating the optimal conditions for meaningful communication and mutual understanding. Moreover, a well-crafted environment enhances receptivity to persuasive efforts. When people feel at ease in their surroundings, they're more likely to let their guard down and engage in open, honest dialogue. They're less likely to be defensive or skeptical and more likely to consider new perspectives. Now, let's explore the fascinating world of environmental influence. At its core, this concept is about understanding how our surroundings shape our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. It's about recognizing that every element in our environment, from the color of the walls to the arrangement of furniture, sends a subtle message to our subconscious mind. Crafting the perfect setting is both an art and a science. It involves carefully considering every aspect of the environment and how it might impact your audience. The temperature of the room, the level of ambient noise, the scent in the air, all of these factors can influence how receptive someone is to your message. But there's more to environmental influence than just physical surroundings. There's also the power of priming, a psychological phenomenon where exposure to one stimulus shapes the reaction to a subsequent stimulus. In the context of persuasion, priming involves subtly exposing your audience to certain cues or ideas that will make them more receptive to your message. For example, imagine you're trying to persuade someone to invest in a new technology startup. Before your meeting, you might arrange for them to see news articles about successful tech entrepreneurs or statistics about the growth of the tech industry. These subtle cues can prime their mind to be more open to your proposal. Of course, environmental influence isn't just about what people see or hear, it's also about what they feel. This is where nonverbal persuasion comes into play. Your body language, spatial positioning, and even your clothing choices all send powerful messages that can either reinforce or undermine your verbal communication. Consider the impact of body language and spatial anchoring. The way you position yourself in relation to others can significantly influence the dynamics of a conversation. Standing too close might make someone feel uncomfortable, while maintaining an appropriate distance can create a sense of trust and respect. Similarly, your posture, gestures, and facial expressions all contribute to the nonverbal narrative you're creating. Open, confident body language can enhance your credibility and make others more likely to trust and agree with you. On the other hand, closed-off or nervous body language can undermine even the most compelling verbal arguments. Even your choice of clothing can play a role in your persuasive efforts. Dressing for influence isn't about wearing the most expensive suit or the trendiest outfit. It's about choosing attire that's appropriate for the context and that reinforces the message you're trying to convey. Your clothing should help you project the image of someone who is competent, trustworthy, and worth listening to. Now, you might be wondering how to put all of this into practice. The key is to start small and experiment. Try setting up different environments for your conversations and note the impact on the outcomes. Pay attention to how people respond when you make subtle changes to your surroundings or your nonverbal cues. You can also experiment with priming techniques in your everyday interactions. Before an important conversation, think about what kind of mindset you want the other person to be in. Then consider what subtle cues or information you could provide to help create that mindset. Of course, as with any powerful tool, there are potential pitfalls to be aware of when it comes to environmental influence and nonverbal persuasion. One common mistake is misreading the environment, assuming that what works in one context will work equally well in another. The key to avoiding this is to remain observant and adaptable. Pay attention to how people are reacting and be prepared to adjust your approach if necessary. Another potential issue is over-relying on nonverbal cues at the expense of verbal communication. While body language and environmental factors are important, they should complement, not replace, clear and effective verbal communication. Strive for a balance between nonverbal and verbal persuasion techniques. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the environments you encounter in your daily life. How might they be influencing your thoughts and behaviors? And more importantly, how can you begin to harness the power of environmental influence in your own persuasive efforts? Remember, mastering the art of setting the stage is just the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the fascinating world of psychological triggers, the hidden buttons in the human mind that, when pressed, can dramatically increase your persuasive power. But be warned, once you understand these triggers, you'll never look at human behavior the same way again. Are you ready to peek behind the curtain of the human psyche? Chapter 3: Mind Games. Have you ever wondered why some ideas spread like wildfire while others fizzle out? Or why certain marketing campaigns captivate millions while others fall flat? The answer lies not in the external world, but in the intricate landscape of the human mind. Welcome to the realm of psychological triggers, the hidden levers that, when pulled, can dramatically influence human behavior and decision-making. As we embark on this chapter, prepare to peel back the layers of the human psyche. We're about to venture into a world where logic often takes a back seat to emotion, where deeply ingrained patterns of thought shape our choices more than we'd like to admit. This is the playground of master persuaders, the chessboard where the game of influence truly unfolds. But why are these psychological triggers so crucial for effective persuasion? The answer lies in the very nature of human decision-making. You see, our brains are constantly bombarded with information, far more than we could ever consciously process. To cope with this overwhelming influx, we've developed mental shortcuts, heuristics, that allow us to make quick decisions without getting bogged down in endless analysis. These shortcuts, while often useful, can also lead to cognitive biases, systematic errors in thinking that can affect our judgments and decisions. For the skilled persuader, understanding these biases and triggers is like having a map of the human mind. It allows you to navigate the complex terrain of human psychology, guiding people towards desired actions in ways that feel natural and intuitive. By aligning your persuasive efforts with these natural decision-making processes, you can dramatically increase your effectiveness. Instead of fighting against the current of human nature, you'll learn to harness its power, channeling it towards your desired outcomes. Now, let's delve into some of the most powerful psychological triggers at your disposal. One of the most fundamental is the principle of reciprocity. This principle taps into a deeply ingrained social norm, the idea that we should repay what another person has provided us. When someone does something for us, we feel a strong urge to return the favor. Imagine receiving an unexpected gift from a colleague. Even if it's something small, like a cup of coffee, you're likely to feel a sense of obligation to reciprocate in some way. This same principle can be applied in persuasion. By offering something of value first, whether it's information, assistance, or a small favor, you create a subtle psychological pressure for the other person to reciprocate. But reciprocity is just the tip of the iceberg. Another powerful trigger is the concept of scarcity. Human beings have a tendency to value things that are rare or dwindling in availability. This is why limited time offers and while supplies last promotions can be so effective. When we believe something is scarce, we often desire it more intensely and act more quickly to acquire it. The power of scarcity isn't just about material goods. It can apply to opportunities, information, or even attention. By framing your proposals or ideas as unique or time-sensitive, you can create a sense of urgency that compels people to act. As we navigate deeper into the realm of psychological triggers, it's important to recognize that these principles aren't manipulative tricks. They're fundamental aspects of human psychology that shape our interactions and decisions every day. The key is to use them ethically and transparently, enhancing communication rather than exploiting vulnerabilities. Now, let's turn our attention to cognitive biases, those systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment. One of the most pervasive is confirmation bias. This is our tendency to search for, interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms or supports our prior beliefs or values. In the context of persuasion, confirmation bias can be both a challenge and an opportunity. On one hand, it can make it difficult to change someone's strongly held beliefs. On the other hand, if you can frame your message in a way that aligns with your audience's existing views, they're more likely to accept and internalize it. Another powerful bias is the authority bias, our tendency to attribute higher credibility to the viewpoint of an authority figure and be more swayed by that perspective. This is why endorsements from experts or respected figures can be so persuasive. By establishing your credibility or associating your message with recognized authorities, you can leverage this bias to enhance your persuasive power. Understanding these biases isn't just about influencing others, it's also about recognizing our own mental blind spots. By reflecting on how these biases affect our own decision-making, we can become more aware, more rational, and ultimately more effective in our persuasive efforts. So how can you put these insights into practice? Start by paying close attention to the psychological triggers at play in your everyday interactions. Notice how people respond to offers of reciprocity, or how scarcity affects their decision-making. Try to identify instances of confirmation bias or authority bias in action. Then, begin to experiment with applying these triggers in your own persuasive efforts. For example, you might try framing a proposal in terms of what might be lost if not acted upon, leveraging scarcity and loss aversion, rather than what might be gained. Or you could look for ways to establish your authority and credibility before making your main argument. As you practice, remember that the goal is not to manipulate, but to communicate more effectively. These triggers and biases are already influencing human behavior. By understanding them, you're simply learning to navigate this psychological landscape more skillfully. Of course, as with any powerful tool, there are potential pitfalls to be aware of. One common mistake is misapplying triggers by not fully understanding your audience. What motivates one person might not motivate another. The key is to observe, listen, and adapt your approach based on the specific individual or group you're trying to persuade. Another risk is overusing these techniques or relying on them too heavily. While psychological triggers can be powerful, they should complement, not replace, substantive arguments and genuine value. Maintain ethical standards and transparency in your persuasive efforts. Your goal should be to guide people towards decisions that are genuinely in their best interest, not to trick them into actions they'll later regret. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the power of these psychological triggers and cognitive biases. How might they be influencing your own decisions and behaviors? How can you use this knowledge to communicate more effectively and persuasively? Remember, what we've explored here is just the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the art of crafting persuasive language, the words and phrases that can transform your ideas into irresistible propositions. But be warned, once you understand the power of words, you may never hear language the same way again. Are you ready to unlock the secrets of linguistic persuasion? Chapter 4, Words of Power. Have you ever noticed how a single word can change the entire meaning of a sentence? Or how the same idea presented in different ways can elicit completely different reactions? Welcome to the fascinating world of linguistic persuasion, where words are not just communication tools, but powerful instruments of influence. As we embark on this chapter, prepare to discover the hidden power that lies within the words we use every day. We're about to explore a realm where language isn't just a means of describing reality, it's a tool for shaping it. This is the domain of master communicators, the arena where battles of ideas are won and lost, often before the audience even realizes the game has begun. But why is language so crucial in the art of persuasion? The answer lies in the very nature of human perception and decision-making. You see, we don't experience reality directly. Instead, our understanding of the world is mediated through language. The words we use don't just describe our experiences, they shape how we perceive and interpret them. This is where the concept of framing comes into play. Framing is the art of presenting information in a way that influences how people perceive and react to it. By carefully choosing your words and structuring your message, you can guide people's thoughts and decisions in subtle yet powerful ways. Consider for a moment how differently you might react to these two statements. This investment has a 70% chance of success versus this investment has a 30% chance of failure. Logically, these statements convey the same information, but psychologically, they create very different impressions. This is the power of framing in action. By mastering the art of framing, you can dramatically enhance the clarity and impact of your communication. You'll be able to present your ideas in ways that resonate with your audience, making your message not just heard, but felt and internalized. Let's delve deeper into the art of framing. One of the most fundamental aspects is the choice between positive and negative framing. Positive framing emphasizes the benefits or gains associated with a particular choice or action. Negative framing, on the other hand, highlights the potential losses or risks. The effectiveness of positive versus negative framing often depends on the context and the audience. Some people are more motivated by the prospect of gains, while others are more sensitive to potential losses. By understanding your audience and tailoring your framing accordingly, you can significantly increase your persuasive power. But framing isn't just about how you present your own ideas, it's also about how you respond to objections or counterarguments. This is where the skill of reframing comes into play. Reframing involves taking an objection or criticism and presenting it in a new light that aligns with your goals. For example, if someone objects to a proposal because it seems risky, you might reframe risk as an opportunity for growth or innovation. By shifting the perspective, you can transform potential roadblocks into stepping stones towards agreement. As we explore deeper into the realm of linguistic persuasion, we encounter even more powerful tools: persuasive language patterns. These are specific ways of structuring language that can bypass conscious resistance and speak directly to the subconscious mind. One such pattern is the use of embedded commands. These are suggestions or instructions embedded within larger sentences in a way that the conscious mind might not notice, but the subconscious picks up on. For instance, instead of saying, "You should consider this offer," you might say, "As you consider this offer, you might find yourself getting excited about the possibilities." The embedded command, "Get excited about the possibilities," is subtly delivered without triggering resistance. Another powerful language pattern involves the use of presuppositions and leading questions. Presuppositions are assumptions embedded within a statement or question. By carefully constructing your language, you can lead people to accept certain ideas without directly stating them. For example, asking, "How quickly do you want to see results?" presupposes that the person wants to see results, and the only question is about the time frame. Leading questions, similarly, guide people towards certain conclusions by the way they're framed. Now, you might be wondering how to put all of this into practice. The key, as with any skill, is consistent practice and observation. Start by consciously framing your messages in different ways and observing how people react. Pay attention to the language patterns used by skilled communicators in media, in business, in politics, and try to identify the framing techniques they employ. You can also practice using persuasive language patterns in low-stakes conversations. Try incorporating embedded commands or presuppositions into your everyday speech. Notice how people respond. Over time, these techniques will become more natural and intuitive. As you experiment with these powerful linguistic tools, it's important to be aware of potential pitfalls. One common issue is miscommunication. Sometimes, in our effort to frame things persuasively, we might inadvertently create confusion or misunderstanding. The key is to remain attentive to your audience's reactions. If you sense that your message isn't landing as intended, be prepared to clarify and reframe as needed. Another risk is overcomplicating your language. In the pursuit of persuasive sophistication, it's easy to fall into the trap of using overly complex or flowery language. Remember, the goal is clarity and impact. Sometimes, the most powerful messages are the simplest. Focus on key points and express them in clear, compelling language. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the power of words. How might you use framing to present your ideas more effectively? How can you incorporate persuasive language patterns into your communication? Remember, the mastery of language is a lifelong journey. What we've explored here is just the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll delve into a dimension of persuasion that goes beyond words, a realm where feelings and intuitions hold sway. Are you ready to unlock the secrets of emotional influence? Prepare to discover how the heart can be an even more powerful persuader than the mind. Chapter 5, Emotional Leverage. Have you ever wondered why some messages resonate deeply with us, while others, despite their logic, leave us cold? Why do certain speakers captivate us, their words seeming to bypass our rational minds and speak directly to our hearts? Welcome to the realm of emotional leverage, where the true power of persuasion lies not in facts and figures, but in the subtle currents of human feeling. As we embark on this chapter, prepare to explore a dimension of influence that goes beyond words and logic. We're about to delve into the world of emotions, those powerful, often subconscious forces that shape our perceptions, guide our decisions, and ultimately drive our actions. This is the playground of master persuaders, the arena where the most profound transformations occur. But why are emotions so crucial in the art of persuasion? The answer lies in the very nature of human decision-making. You see, we like to think of ourselves as rational beings, carefully weighing pros and cons before making choices. But the truth is far more complex. Our emotions often act as the silent drivers of our decisions, with our rational minds merely justifying choices we've already made on an emotional level. This isn't a flaw in human cognition, it's a feature. Our emotions serve as a rapid response system, allowing us to make quick judgments in complex situations. They're the product of millions of years of evolution, honed to help us navigate the intricacies of social interaction and survival. By aligning your persuasive efforts with these emotional drivers, you can tap into a wellspring of influence far more powerful than logic alone. When you speak to someone's emotions, you're not just conveying information, you're creating a connection, building rapport, and laying the groundwork for genuine persuasion. But how do we harness this emotional power? The key lies in developing your emotional intelligence, your ability to recognize, understand, and manage both your own emotions and those of others. This concept, popularized by psychologist Daniel Goleman, is at the heart of effective emotional leverage. Central to emotional intelligence is the skill of empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Empathy allows you to tune into the emotional wavelength of your audience, to sense their unspoken needs and desires. It's the foundation upon which all effective emotional persuasion is built. Imagine for a moment that you're trying to persuade someone to support a new initiative. You could present a logical argument filled with facts and figures. Or you could first take the time to understand their emotional state. Are they excited about new possibilities or anxious about potential changes? By tuning into these emotional cues, you can tailor your approach to resonate with their current emotional state. This leads us to another powerful concept in emotional persuasion: mirroring and emotional contagion. Have you ever noticed how you tend to mirror the emotional state of those around you? This is emotional contagion in action, the tendency for emotions to spread from person to person. As a persuader, you can leverage this phenomenon by consciously managing your own emotional state. By projecting the emotions you want to evoke in your audience, whether it's enthusiasm, calm, or determination, you can subtly influence their emotional state. This creates a powerful foundation for your persuasive efforts. Now, let's delve deeper into how we can leverage specific emotional states for persuasion. One approach is to appeal to primary emotions, those fundamental feelings that are hardwired into our psyche. These include emotions like fear, joy, anger, sadness, and surprise. Each of these emotions can be a powerful motivator when used appropriately. For instance, fear can motivate people to take action to avoid a negative outcome. Joy can inspire people to embrace new opportunities. The key is to understand which emotions are most relevant to your persuasive goal and how to evoke them ethically and effectively. One of the most powerful tools for evoking emotions is storytelling. Humans are hardwired to respond to narratives. They engage our emotions in a way that raw facts and figures simply can't match. By crafting compelling stories that illustrate your points, you can create an emotional connection with your audience that makes your message far more persuasive. But how do you put all of this into practice? The key, as with any skill, is consistent practice and observation. Start by honing your ability to identify emotional cues in conversations. Pay attention not just to what people say, but how they say it. Notice their tone of voice, their body language, the words they choose. These are all windows into their emotional state. You can also practice using storytelling to evoke emotions. In your everyday conversations, try incorporating short anecdotes or metaphors to illustrate your points. Observe how people respond. Do they lean in, showing greater engagement? Do their facial expressions change? These are signs that you're successfully tapping into their emotions. As you experiment with emotional leverage, it's important to be aware of potential pitfalls. One common issue is misreading emotions. It's easy to project our own feelings onto others or misinterpret subtle emotional cues. The key to avoiding this is active listening and careful observation. If you're unsure about someone's emotional state, don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. Another risk is over-relying on emotions at the expense of logic. While emotions are powerful, they shouldn't be the only tool in your persuasive arsenal. The most effective persuasion combines emotional appeal with solid logical arguments. Strive for a balance that respects both the heart and the mind of your audience. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the power of emotions in persuasion. How might you use emotional intelligence to enhance your persuasive efforts? How can you incorporate storytelling and emotional appeals into your communication? Remember, mastering emotional leverage is a journey of continuous learning and refinement. What we've explored here is just the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll delve into a dimension of persuasion that might seem at odds with what we've just discussed, the art of winning arguments through logic and reason. But as you'll soon discover, the true master of persuasion knows how to seamlessly blend emotion and logic into an irresistible force of influence. Are you ready to become the ultimate persuader? Chapter 6: Winning the Argument. Have you ever found yourself in the midst of a heated debate, your heart racing, your mind scrambling for the perfect retort? Or perhaps you've witnessed a masterful orator effortlessly dismantle their opponent's arguments, leaving the audience in awe. Welcome to the arena of argumentation, where ideas clash and convictions are put to the test. As we embark on this chapter, prepare to uncover the secrets of turning debates and disagreements into powerful opportunities for persuasion. We're about to explore a dimension of influence that goes beyond mere disagreement or confrontation. This is the realm where logic dances with emotion, where reason intertwines with rhetoric to create an irresistible force of persuasion. But why is mastering the art of argumentation so crucial for effective persuasion? The answer lies in the very nature of human interaction and decision-making. You see, disagreements and debates are not obstacles to persuasion. They are opportunities. When handled skillfully, they can become powerful catalysts for changing minds and winning hearts. Think about it. When someone disagrees with you, they're engaged. They're invested in the conversation. This engagement, this investment of mental and emotional energy, creates a unique opening for influence. By mastering the art of argumentation, you can transform these moments of conflict into opportunities to showcase your ideas, demonstrate your credibility, and ultimately guide others towards your point of view. Moreover, the ability to construct well-reasoned arguments builds trust and credibility. When you can articulate your position clearly and logically, backing it up with sound evidence and reasoning, you demonstrate a level of thoughtfulness and intelligence that commands respect. This respect, in turn, makes people more receptive to your ideas and more likely to be persuaded by your arguments. But how do we harness this power of argumentation? The key lies in understanding and applying the principles of argumentation theory. This field of study, with roots stretching back to ancient Greek philosophy, provides a framework for constructing and analyzing arguments. At its core, it teaches us how to use logic, reasoning, and rhetorical strategies to build compelling cases for our ideas. Central to argumentation theory is the concept of logical persuasion. This involves constructing arguments that follow a clear, rational structure. It's about building a chain of reasoning that leads inevitably to your conclusion, making it difficult for others to find fault with your logic. To build a logical argument, start with a clear premise, a statement that forms the foundation of your argument. Then, provide evidence or reasons that support this premise. Finally, show how this evidence leads logically to your conclusion. For example, if your premise is, exercise is beneficial for health, you might provide evidence about how exercise improves cardiovascular function, strengthens muscles, and reduces stress. Your conclusion might be that people should incorporate regular exercise into their routines. However, logical persuasion isn't just about constructing your own arguments. It's also about identifying and countering logical fallacies in others' arguments. Logical fallacies are errors in reasoning that can make an argument seem stronger than it actually is. By learning to spot these fallacies, things like false dichotomies, ad hominem attacks, or appeals to ignorance, you can more effectively challenge weak arguments and strengthen your own position. But logic alone is not enough. To truly master the art of argumentation, we must also understand and apply rhetorical strategies. This is where we turn to the wisdom of Aristotle and his three modes of persuasion: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos refers to the credibility or character of the speaker. It's about establishing yourself as a trustworthy, knowledgeable source. This can be done through demonstrating expertise, citing credible sources, or showing a track record of reliability. Pathos is an appeal to emotions. While we're focusing on logical argumentation, we can't ignore the power of emotion in persuasion. Skillfully evoking the right emotions can make your arguments more compelling and memorable. Logos is the appeal to logic, the use of reasoning and evidence to support your claims. This aligns closely with the logical persuasion we discussed earlier. The true master of argumentation knows how to blend these three elements seamlessly. They establish their credibility, ethos, engage the emotions of their audience, pathos, and present a logical, well-reasoned argument, logos. One powerful rhetorical tool that combines these elements is the art of rhetorical questions. These are questions asked not to obtain a response, but to make a point or provoke contemplation. For example, if we don't act now, what kind of world are we leaving for our children? This question appeals to emotion, pathos, implies the speaker's concern and foresight, ethos, and logically suggests the need for immediate action, logos. Now, You might be wondering how to put all of this into practice. The key, as with any skill, is consistent practice and reflection. One effective way to hone your argumentation skills is to engage in debates. This doesn't mean picking fights, but rather seeking out opportunities for respectful intellectual discourse on topics you care about. As you engage in these debates, focus on constructing logical arguments. Pay attention to how you structure your reasoning and practice identifying and avoiding logical fallacies. At the same time, be mindful of how you're using ethos, pathos, and logos to enhance your persuasiveness. Another valuable exercise is to analyze speeches or debates by skilled orators. Watch how they construct their arguments, how they establish credibility, appeal to emotions, and use logic. Then, try to apply these strategies in your own communication. As you experiment with these techniques, it's important to be aware of potential pitfalls. One common issue in argumentation is emotional escalation. When debates get heated, it's easy to lose sight of the goal, persuasion, and fall into unproductive conflict. If you sense this happening, try to de-escalate by refocusing on common goals or shared values. Another risk is falling into logical fallacies yourself. Even when we know what they are, it's surprisingly easy to use fallacious reasoning, especially in the heat of an argument. The key is to remain vigilant, constantly examining your own arguments for weaknesses. If you catch yourself using a fallacy, don't be afraid to acknowledge it and reformulate your argument. This demonstrates intellectual honesty, which can actually enhance your credibility. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the power of argumentation in persuasion. How might you use these techniques to transform disagreements into opportunities for influence? How can you blend logic, emotion, and credibility to create more compelling arguments? Remember, mastering the art of argumentation is a journey of continuous learning and refinement. What we've explored here is just the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll delve into a dimension of persuasion that extends far beyond individual arguments or debates. We'll explore how to build networks of influence, creating alliances that amplify your persuasive power. Are you ready to discover how to turn not just individuals, but entire groups to your cause? Chapter 7, Building Alliances. Have you ever noticed how some ideas seem to spread like wildfire, while others struggle to gain traction? Or how certain individuals appear to wield an almost magnetic influence, effortlessly swaying the opinions of those around them? Welcome to the intricate world of social networks and alliances, where the true power of persuasion extends far beyond individual interactions. As we embark on this chapter, prepare to uncover the hidden architecture of influence that shapes our social world. We're about to explore a dimension of persuasion that goes beyond one-on-one conversations or public speeches. This is the realm where ideas gain momentum, where influence compounds, and where the ripple effects of your persuasive efforts can create waves of change. But why is building alliances so crucial for effective persuasion? The answer lies in the very nature of human society and decision-making. You see, we are inherently social creatures. Our opinions, beliefs, and decisions are profoundly influenced by those around us. By understanding and leveraging this social dynamic, you can amplify your persuasive power exponentially. Think about it. When you persuade one person, you've changed one mind. But when you build alliances and leverage social networks, each person you persuade becomes a potential advocate for your ideas. Your influence spreads not just through your direct efforts, but through the connections and interactions of others. This creates a multiplier effect that can dramatically increase the reach and impact of your persuasive efforts. Moreover, building alliances isn't just about expanding your reach. It's about building credibility and social proof. When others see that your ideas are supported by a network of respected individuals or groups, they're more likely to give those ideas serious consideration. This social validation can be a powerful force in overcoming skepticism and resistance. But how do we harness this power of social networks and alliances? The key lies in understanding and applying the principles of social network theory. This field of study examines how social structures are formed, how information and influence flow through these structures, and how they impact individual and group behavior. Central to social network theory is the concept of social proof. This is the psychological phenomenon where people look to the actions and attitudes of others to determine their own behavior. It's why we're more likely to try a restaurant that's bustling with customers, or why we're more inclined to believe information that comes from multiple sources. As a persuader, you can leverage social proof by showcasing the support your ideas have already garnered. This could involve highlighting endorsements from respected individuals, sharing testimonials, or demonstrating widespread adoption of your ideas or products. The key is to show that others, particularly those your audience respects or identifies with, have already been convinced. Another powerful element in building alliances is the strategic use of authority figures. People are naturally inclined to defer to those they perceive as authorities in a given field. By aligning yourself with recognized experts or leaders, you can borrow their credibility and enhance your persuasive power. However, leveraging authority isn't just about associating with famous names. It's about identifying and connecting with individuals who hold influence within the specific networks you're trying to impact. These could be community leaders, industry experts, or even informal influencers who shape opinions within their social circles. Now, let's delve deeper into the art of networking for persuasion. This isn't about collecting business cards or racking up social media connections. It's about building strategic relationships that can amplify your influence and advance your goals. The first step in strategic networking is to identify the key players in your field or target audience. Who are the opinion leaders? Who has the ear of decision makers? Who are the connectors that bridge different groups? By mapping out these influential nodes in your social network, you can focus your efforts where they'll have the greatest impact. Once you've identified these key individuals, the next step is to build genuine relationships with them. This involves finding common ground, demonstrating value, and cultivating trust over time. Remember, the goal isn't to use people, but to create mutually beneficial alliances. Look for ways to support others' goals as you pursue your own. As you build these relationships, you'll begin to accumulate social capital, the goodwill, trust, and reciprocal obligations that exist within social networks. This social capital can be a powerful resource in your persuasive efforts. It allows you to call on favors, access information and opportunities, and leverage the influence of others to support your goals. But how do you put all of this into practice? One effective exercise is to map out your existing social network. Start by listing all the people you know who could potentially influence or be influenced by your persuasive efforts. Then, identify the connections between these individuals. Who knows whom? Who holds sway over others? As you create this map, look for opportunities to strengthen existing connections and forge new ones. Are there key influencers you should be building relationships with? Are there ways you could connect different parts of your network to create new synergies? Another valuable practice is to actively seek out opportunities to build alliances around shared interests. Look for individuals or groups whose goals align with yours, even if they're in different fields or sectors. By joining forces around common objectives, you can create powerful coalitions that amplify your influence. As you experiment with these strategies, it's important to be aware of potential pitfalls. One common issue is forming misaligned alliances, partnerships that look good on paper but don't actually advance your goals. To avoid this, always be clear about your objectives and ensure that any alliances you form are truly in service of those goals. If you find yourself in a misaligned alliance, don't be afraid to realign or respectfully disengage. Another risk is over-reliance on authority or social proof at the expense of your own credibility. While leveraging the influence of others can be powerful, it's important to balance this with building your own authority and trustworthiness. Your ultimate goal should be to become a respected voice in your own right, not just a conduit for others' influence. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the power of alliances in persuasion. How might you leverage your existing network to amplify your influence? What new connections could you forge to expand your persuasive reach? Remember, building alliances is not about manipulation or using people. It's about creating a web of mutually beneficial relationships that can advance shared goals and create positive change. It's about recognizing that our greatest achievements often come not through individual effort, but through the collective power of aligned minds and efforts. As we look ahead to the next chapter, consider this. If building alliances is about expanding your influence outward, what might be the next step in your journey to persuasion mastery? How can you ensure that the changes you create through your persuasive efforts are not just widespread, but lasting? Prepare to discover the art of solidifying your persuasive victories and creating enduring impact. Are you ready to turn momentary triumphs into lasting transformations? Chapter 8, Victory Lap. Have you ever experienced the thrill of winning someone over to your point of view, only to find that their enthusiasm wanes over time? Or perhaps you've witnessed a brilliant persuasive effort fall flat in the long run, despite initial success. Welcome to the crucial, yet often overlooked final stage of persuasion, the art of solidifying your victories and ensuring lasting impact. As we embark on this chapter, prepare to uncover the secrets of turning momentary triumphs into enduring transformations. We're about to explore a dimension of persuasion that goes beyond the initial yes or agreement. This is the realm where true masters of influence operate, where the real work of persuasion often begins after the apparent victory has been won. But why is this final stage so crucial for effective persuasion? The answer lies in the nature of human psychology and decision-making. You see, persuasion isn't just about changing minds in the moment. It's about creating lasting change. It's about ensuring that the decisions people make under your influence stick, that the actions they commit to are actually carried out, and that the relationships you've built continue to flourish. Think about it. How many times have you made a decision or commitment in the heat of the moment only to second-guess yourself later? How often have you seen people enthusiastically agree to something only to quietly back out or lose interest over time? This phenomenon is what we're addressing in this chapter, the challenge of making persuasion stick. The key to understanding this challenge lies in the theory of consistency and commitment from social psychology. This theory posits that people have a strong desire to be and appear consistent with their words, beliefs, attitudes, and deeds. Once we've made a choice or taken a stand, we face internal and social pressures to behave consistently with that commitment. This desire for consistency can be a powerful tool in the hands of a skilled persuader. By understanding how to leverage this psychological principle, you can significantly increase the likelihood that people will follow through on their commitments and maintain their newly adopted beliefs or behaviors. But how do we harness this power of consistency and commitment? The first step is to understand the psychology of commitment. When people make a commitment, especially if it's active, public, and voluntary, they're more likely to follow through. This is because failing to do so would create cognitive dissonance, an uncomfortable state of psychological tension that arises when our actions don't align with our self-image or public commitments. As a persuader, you can leverage this by encouraging people to make active, public commitments to the decisions or actions you're advocating. This could involve having them write down their commitment, share it with others, or take a small but concrete step towards the larger goal. Another powerful technique for solidifying agreements is the foot-in-the-door method. This involves starting with a small request that's likely to be accepted and then gradually escalating to larger commitments. Each small yes builds momentum and makes it more likely that the person will agree to bigger requests in the future as they strive to remain consistent with their earlier actions. But securing initial commitment is just the beginning. To create truly lasting influence, you need to build on your successes and maintain engagement over time. This is where the concept of reciprocal altruism comes into play. This theory suggests that people are more likely to continue supporting you or your ideas if they feel that the relationship is mutually beneficial. To leverage this, Look for ways to provide ongoing value to those you've persuaded. This could involve sharing additional resources, offering support or guidance, or finding ways to help them achieve their own goals. By doing so, you're not just reinforcing their initial decision, you're building a relationship of trust and mutual benefit that can sustain your influence over the long term. The importance of follow-up cannot be overstated in this process. Many persuasive efforts fail not because the initial argument was weak, but because there was inadequate follow-through. Regular check-ins, reminders, and reinforcement can help keep your persuasive message fresh in people's minds and counteract the natural tendency to revert to old patterns of thinking or behavior. Now, you might be wondering how to put all of this into practice. One effective exercise is to develop a follow-up plan for your recent persuasive efforts. Think about a situation where you've recently convinced someone to agree with your point of view or take a particular action. Now, map out a strategy for reinforcing that decision over the next few weeks or months. What reminders can you provide? What additional value can you offer? How can you help them feel good about their decision and motivated to stick with it? Another valuable practice is to actively look for opportunities to reinforce commitments in your daily interactions. When someone agrees to something, don't just leave it at that. Find ways to solidify that agreement. This could involve asking them to restate their commitment in their own words, discussing specific next steps, or setting up a time to check in on progress. As you experiment with these techniques, it's important to be aware of potential pitfalls. One common issue is commitment erosion, the gradual weakening of a person's resolve over time. To combat this, be proactive in providing reminders and incentives. Celebrate small victories along the way and help people see the progress they're making towards their larger goals. Another risk is relationship strain. In your enthusiasm to reinforce commitments, you might inadvertently come across as pushy or overbearing. To avoid this, maintain open communication and always prioritize mutual benefit. Be sensitive to changing circumstances or needs and be willing to adjust your approach if necessary. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the power of consistency and commitment in persuasion. How might you use these principles to reinforce your persuasive efforts and create more lasting impact? How can you build relationships of reciprocal altruism that sustain your influence over time? Remember, the victory lap isn't just a celebration of past success, it's the crucial groundwork for future influence. By mastering the art of reinforcing decisions and building long-term relationships, you can transform fleeting moments of persuasion into enduring changes that ripple out far beyond the initial interaction. As we look ahead to the final chapter, consider this. If mastering persuasion is a journey, what lies at the end of that path? How can you take all that you've learned and synthesize it into a cohesive strategy for ongoing influence? Prepare to discover the ultimate secrets of persuasion mastery, the insights that will elevate you from a skilled practitioner to a true maestro of influence. Are you ready to unlock the final piece of the persuasion puzzle? Chapter 9, Endgame Strategy. As we reach the final chapter of our journey through the art and science of persuasion, it's time to step back and view the bigger picture. You've come a long way since we first embarked on this exploration of influence. You've delved into the intricacies of human psychology, mastered the nuances of communication, and unlocked the power of social dynamics. But the true test of any skill lies not just in its acquisition, but in its application and continuous refinement. Welcome to the Endgame Strategy, the culmination of everything you've learned and the launching pad for your future as a master persuader. This isn't just about recapping what we've covered. It's about synthesizing these insights into a cohesive, adaptable approach that will serve you for years to come. Think back to where you were when you first opened this book. Perhaps you felt uncertain in your ability to influence others, or frustrated by your inability to effectively communicate your ideas. Now, imagine yourself armed with the knowledge and skills you've gained. How does it feel to know that you have the tools to navigate even the most challenging conversations with confidence and finesse? This transformation isn't just about acquiring techniques or memorizing strategies. It's about fundamentally changing how you approach interactions and relationships. You've developed a new lens through which to view the world, one that recognizes the underlying currents of influence that shape our social landscape. But let's be clear, this newfound power comes with responsibility. The skills you've acquired can be used to manipulate and exploit, or they can be used to inspire, uplift, and create positive change. The choice is yours, and it's a choice you'll need to make consciously in every interaction. So, how can what you've learned in this book truly empower you? First and foremost, you now have an enhanced ability to influence and achieve your goals. Whether in your personal life or professional endeavors, you can approach situations with a strategic mindset, understanding the levers of persuasion at your disposal. Imagine walking into a negotiation knowing exactly how to frame your proposals for maximum impact. Picture yourself deftly navigating a difficult conversation with a loved one, using emotional intelligence to find common ground. These aren't just hypothetical scenarios, they're real possibilities that you now have the skills to actualize. Moreover, you'll find a newfound confidence in your persuasive interactions. This isn't about becoming arrogant or overconfident, but about having a quiet assurance in your ability to communicate effectively and influence outcomes. This confidence itself can be persuasive, as people are naturally drawn to those who exude certainty and competence. But the benefits of mastering persuasion extend far beyond achieving your immediate goals. Perhaps the most profound impact will be on your relationships. By understanding the principles of influence and communication, you can build stronger, more meaningful connections with others. Think about how your interactions might change when you're able to truly understand and empathize with others' perspectives. When you can communicate your own needs and desires clearly and compellingly. When you can find win-win solutions even in seemingly adversarial situations. This enhanced ability to connect and communicate can lead to deeper, more fulfilling relationships in all areas of your life. You'll find yourself better able to resolve conflicts, build consensus, and foster cooperation. In essence, you're not just becoming a better persuader, you're becoming a better partner, friend, colleague, and leader. Now, let's consider what you'll be able to achieve with these new skills that might have seemed impossible before. One of the most powerful abilities you've developed is the capacity to navigate complex conversations with ease. Those situations that might have once left you tongue-tied or frustrated, a challenging work presentation, a sensitive family discussion, a high-stakes negotiation, can now be approached with strategy and confidence. Moreover, you've learned to turn disagreements into opportunities for influence. Rather than viewing conflicts as obstacles, you now see them as chances to deepen understanding, find common ground, and guide others towards your perspective. This shift in mindset alone can transform your interactions and open up new possibilities for collaboration and mutual growth. But here's the truly exciting part. What you've learned in this book is just the beginning. As you continue to practice and apply these concepts, you'll find that your results improve with less and less effort. This is the path to true mastery, where persuasion becomes not just a skill, but an instinct. Through repetition and refinement, these strategies will become second nature. You'll find yourself automatically framing your messages for maximum impact, intuitively reading emotional cues, and effortlessly building rapport. What once required conscious effort will become as natural as breathing. This increased efficiency in achieving your desired outcomes is the hallmark of a true persuasion master. You'll be able to accomplish more with less effort, freeing up your mental energy to focus on higher-level strategic thinking and more complex challenges. As we conclude this journey, I want to leave you with a final, powerful insight, the ultimate payoff for those who've committed to mastering the art of persuasion. It's a realization that dawns on those who reach the pinnacle of influence. The greatest persuaders don't just change minds, they change realities. You see, at the highest level of mastery, persuasion becomes more than just a set of techniques or strategies. it becomes a way of shaping the world around you. By influencing how others think, feel, and act, you gain the power to create ripple effects that can transform entire communities, organizations, or even societies. This isn't about manipulating or controlling others. It's about having the vision to see possibilities that others miss, the skills to communicate those possibilities in a way that inspires and motivates, and the strategic thinking to turn those visions into reality. Imagine being able to rally people around a cause you believe in, to inspire change in your organization, or to guide your community towards a brighter future. These aren't just lofty ideals, they're real possibilities for those who master the art of persuasion. But with this power comes a profound responsibility. As you continue to hone your skills and expand your influence, always remember to use your abilities ethically and for the greater good. The true measure of a master persuader isn't just in their ability to influence, but in the positive impact they create in the world. So, as you close this book and step back into your daily life, carry with you not just the techniques and strategies you've learned, but also this vision of what's possible. You have within you the potential to be not just a skilled communicator, not just an effective influencer, but a true catalyst for positive change. The journey of mastering persuasion is ongoing. There will always be new challenges to face, new skills to develop, and new heights to reach. But armed with the foundation you've built through this book and committed to continuous learning and ethical practice, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Now, go forth and persuade, not just to get what you want, but to create the kind of world you want to live in. Your endgame strategy isn't just about winning arguments or influencing decisions. It's about leaving a lasting, positive impact on the world around you. The power is in your hands. But as you embark on your journey of persuasion mastery, remember that true influence often lies in what's left unsaid. The most powerful persuaders know that sometimes less is more. They understand the delicate balance between speaking and listening, between asserting and observing. This subtle art of communication can elevate your persuasive abilities to new heights, allowing you to achieve even greater impact with less effort. Intrigued? There's a whole world of quiet influence waiting to be explored. To truly maximize the power of persuasion you've gained, you'll want to discover how to wield the silent strength of thoughtful communication. For the ultimate guide to this transformative skill, don't miss the audiobook, Quiet Confidence: How to Achieve More by Saying Less.